Oh, hi everyone. And look, I just came on and I totally forgot to set up. How are you all doing? This is Miss Chanel, Coach Chanel. And can you see me clearly? I think you can see me much better right now. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Monday Night Live, episode 10 of Monday Night Live. And in this session, in terms of the secrets that I'll be sharing with you, I'm going to share you the secrets to CSEC Spanish, and in particular, the orals exam. So, if you're not aware, Spanish technically does not have an SBA. What you get instead is an orals exam. It would be a practical exam, and for the exam, you do have to demonstrate your ability to read, listen, and speak in Espanol. Um, the exam actually has three components. That would be reading, lectura. You often have to do the lectura portion first. Then you have oral situations, which are back. The oral situations, I know a lot of people are not a fan of it, but I do appreciate oral situations because it is an opportunity for you to build marks in the exam. So you have oral situations, and then you have the section that everyone dreads and leaves for last, the section that everyone thinks of when they think of an orals exam. And it's the section with the most marks. So it's definitely the section that you need to pay attention to and spend some time on. And that would be conversation. And that's exactly what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to focus on tips for the conversational part of the orals exam. And these tips I'm giving you would apply to if you're doing French or if you're doing Portuguese, but they are actually pretty valid tips that will help you prepare for the exam. Right now, we are in November. Your orals exam is going to be in April of 2026. And yes, I understand that we're getting to the end of the school term and the end of the first term in this academic year. You're feeling the pressure of getting prepared for end of terms, knowing this is your final end of terms in terms of a term one, end of term before exam. You have term two, but term two is going to be SPA crazy. So I normally recommend that you start to put in from now good habits in terms of preparing for the exam. I'm not saying do not prepare for um I'm not saying don't prepare for your end of term. I'm saying you have to put in the good habits to actually prepare for that particular exam. All right. And that's what we're going to talk about today. What are some of the good habits that you can put into place to prepare for that CSEC conversational exam? All right. So, one thing you have to know for the conversation exam is that you do get topic areas. All right. So I love the topic areas. Sorry if you hear the noise, but I do love the topic areas and I do love to talk about them, not because I'm in love with them, but because those topic areas are a guide for you, not just actually to me for the oral exams, but for the entire exam. I use them as a guide when I prep for paper two and paper one as well. So those topic areas are home and family, school and career, daily routine, sports and recreation, shopping, and travel. Most of the topics are pretty self explanatory. So, for example, home and family would be um, anything that's dealing with things at home, things that are done at home, and things that are done with family. So, if we think about questions, that's what you're looking at. For school and career, very similar. These are questions that are going to give you that when they're asked of you, you are giving information about your school life, your school routine, how do you get to school, how often you go to school, how often you study, so your study routine as well. Um, Hi, Sport Edit King. I see you. Thanks much. And then career. What do you want to do in the future? Sometimes you might get questions based on what do you want to study in the future. So not just career, but study in the future as well. Daily routine. I often say daily routine can be a mix of um, school and career and home and family. So sometimes it's a bit repetitive, but how often do you go to school? That's a silly one. You probably won't get that one. How often do you study? Um, um, how often do you go to the grocery? Daily routine tends to be very repetitive, right? Then we have What's the next one? Travel. Travel is kind of obvious. It's overseas travel as well as travel within a particular country. So, what did you enjoy about travel? What documents were used for travel? Would you travel to a foreign country? Would you travel to a Spanish speaking country? What's your favorite country to travel to? What transport was available when you traveled? How did you get there? That's travel. And things to do in the foreign country would also fall under travel. So it's almost like recreation, but it might fall under that travel if you're vacationing, right? Then we have sports and recreation, which would be about sports. Yes, football, tennis, cricket. So you might have to know some sports. Um, Maybe your favorite athlete, least favorite athlete, favorite sport, why is it your favorite sport? And at the same in the same vein, you could be asked about any sort of recreational activity. Do you prefer to watch TV? Do you prefer to read? All right, so stuff like that is what comes for sports and recreation. And then we have shopping, all about shopping. All right, what do you buy at the grocery? What do you buy at the supermarket? How often does your family shop? Who is the person who goes to the grocery to shop for your family? What and This is where shopping gets interesting. Shopping goes into financials. So, how often do you save your money? What do you use to make your payments with when you shop? Is it that you're using card or are you using cash, right? Card is tarjeta, cash is inefectivo, right? So, the thing is that when you know these topics, you can actually start building your vocabulary. And that's the very first thing I recommend. Start looking at some vocabulary within these so specialized vocabulary within these subject areas that is going to make it a lot easier for you to respond to the questions, because certain things, if they're asking you what's your favorite means to get to school and you don't know how to say by car, it's going to be hard. But maybe you know how to say by bus, autobus, a lot easier, right? um so you want to get specialized vocabulary for these particular areas, and it's going to, again, it's not only going to be useful for the conversational element, it's going to be useful for the entire paper. Everything. Paper two, paper one. In fact, for paper two, I normally give students specialized vocabulary that I've prepared. Okay. And specialized vocabulary is a guide. You have to start building your own vocabulary that you can use for the exam. That does not mean coming up with your own words in Spanish. It's just what are your go to words in Spanish. I have my own go to words, my own go to phrasing. That's natural for any language. So you want to use words that you like. I have students who come up with certain words. Like I would go for a word that I think is easy, and they look for a totally different way to say it. It's not wrong. I think it's more complicated, but it is still valid in Espanol. And I'm like, yeah, hey, good to go. You know that word? Good. Go ahead with it. You can use it for the exam. All right. So you've got your specialized vocabulary. That's a big deal. You've got it. What you need to do is start getting the exam questions. Like, so how do you get the questions? Ideally from past papers. If you can get hold of those papers, you're kind of hard to get a hold of. But you want to get the past papers. If you use any textbook that has sample questions, those are very ideal as well. When I first prepared for my exam, however many years ago, I did not really have access to paper three questions. What I had access to were, when I said paper three questions, I mean the actual past papers. What I had access to were sample questions. And those sample questions did save me in great, to a great degree. They did save me for the exams. If you can get a hold of a sample question, a lot of textbooks are out there with sample questions. I actually use past paper questions. I have a special sheet with general questions that um, I use as training with students. And when I train for the exam, and this is probably me getting ahead of my point, but when I train for the exam, I start off doing it in a way that's not exam format. So I actually do a conversation. And that's actually going to lead me to my third point. Get a practice partner or practice group. So, guys, for conversation, you have to talk. You have to practice your ability to listen or escuchar en español. You have to practice your ability to listen in Spanish and your ability to speak in Spanish, hablar en español. So for you to do this, you're gonna have to practice. This is a practical exam. I know that languages are exams that people don't think of as practical. It's a practical exam. Yes, it is. So you have to practice it to get better at it, to get better at producing español and understanding español. Tienes que practicar. Es la realidad. That's reality, okay? So how I normally introduce this practice to my students. Again, this is not exactly exam format. We get the list of questions. I normally stick to a particular topic or theme. And let's say we're doing travel. All right. I like travel questions, guys. But let's say we're doing travel. And I will ask my students, like, uh, te gusta pasar tus vacaciones en un país extranjero? Do you like to spend your vacations in a foreign country? And they will respond, and then they get an opportunity to ask me a question. Again, that's not exam format, right? But they will get an opportunity to ask me a question. So, for example, they might ask based on our list, because I give a list, I use a list of questions. They might be like, uh, eh, ¿qué es tu actividad favorita? Oh, no. I'm trying to think of a question that has come for exam. Um, ah, ¿Quieres viajar a un país hispanohablante? Right? Would you like to travel to a Spanish speaking country? All right. And then I would respond. So that actually gives an opportunity for both the listening and the speaking to be practiced. So that's a great way for you to practice with a serious, I'll say that word again, a serious study partner or a study group. You guys can have your list of sentences compiled, your list of questions in Espanol, and one by one, somebody asks a question, respond, and you go on and on and on. And it is actually something that's very productive. Even if you all are total newbies at Spanish, just the process of doing it with a serious, committed group is going to help you. Ensure that while you're doing it, after you've made your response, you look for vocabulary. And again, you want to ensure that you're getting into the practice of speaking. So even if it's going to take a while, even if you're not going at exam pace, um, you definitely want to go ahead and attempt it. Hi, Star. I think that's Star. How are you doing? So you definitely want to attempt it like that. All right. And it is very helpful. So again, I did say that that format is not exam um, pace. That's not the exam format, but I do recommend it. Joe Michael Brazil. I know English. I walk English. I talk English. I like that. When you're preparing for a foreign language, you kind of have to do it like that. So, like for me, because I know my exam prep time is coming up, I am getting back into Spanish mode along with my students. I want to be a good example, right? And yes, I do teach Spanish. I do speak it hasta cierto punto, up to a certain point, but my practice is not where it should be because I tend to only speak to students in español, right? So what do I do? I'll give you that pretty good tip right now. What I do is I look for a show that I like and I watch it in español. I think it works really well if you can rewatch a show. Not everyone likes to rewatch shows, but it would help if you're trying to hear the audio of the foreign language, right? So Netflix does a very good job of this, maybe Disney Plus, but some of the streaming sites you can actually select the audio. So my recommendation is you maybe not go full Espanol or full French or full Portuguese in the first go. You can if you want. You can, all right? But you can consider either switching on the audio or switching on um, the captions. Pick one, all right? Not both. I like horror movies on Netflix. Okay, great. You like horror movies. What I actually like is to watch in Spanish, and this is probably gonna sound very funny. I like anime Latin dub, so I'm rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho. in Espanol. I think I only made it 2 episodes. I've watched probably a good way into Yu Yu Hakusho um, in Espanol, but I'm starting over because I love the anime. Um, so I like to watch anime in Espanol. The voice acting is so good in Spanish. And I also like to look at Chinese dramas or doramas chinos en español. Those are phenomenal. So you can get a lot. You can also get a lot on YouTube, whether if it's actual original Spanish content or if it's maybe a movie site that has movies programs in Espanol. The Chinese film industry does do a lot of shows in foreign languages, so that's one of my options, and it's free. It's on YouTube. Just pay your internet bill, right? So that's a good tip. So for the exam, the actual format is that the examiner or the teacher just fires question after question at you. So at one point in time, you're going to have to transition from this lovely let me hold your hand group practice to actual rapid fire. Well, it's not rapid fire questions. I'm being a bit horrible. They're not rapid fire questions, but they will feel a bit like an interrogation. I do tell students, think of it as an interview. You're being interviewed, right? So someone wants to know, hey, where do you live? Hey, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I live in a more rural part of Trinidad and Tobago. I absolutely love where I live because at night it's pretty quiet. Okay, and that's how you want to respond. Yeah, that's how you want to respond in Spanish. I always say, and that's my recommendation: respond in paragraphs because they need to hear you speak in Espanol, right? So, at a certain point in time, after you've gotten comfortable and you've elevated out of the nice group practice or the partner practice where everybody's asking each other questions, you just have to do exam format. And exam format is the whoever is going to be the teacher is going to ask about 12 questions. I think it's 12 questions. I hope that's still correct. They're going to ask 12 questions and it can come from any one of those topics. Okay, so you want to practice somebody asking these questions. They don't stay on topic, it's going to switch. You're not going to know, ideally, if a question switches from school and career to daily routine or sports and recreation. You might recognize the type of question. And because you recognize the type of question, you're going to realize how you switch. Let me see. You have an American accent. I'm from Great Russia. I don't know if my accent is fully American, but I'm speaking pretty much standard English right now. If I speak Trinidadian, some people might not understand me. So I have to speak as standard as possible, right? Um, but going back to how you practice, you definitely want to guys, I'm getting distracted. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you definitely want to get to that format. And if you can get to that format with guided instruction, that is going to be an ideal situation. So that's going to lead me to something I am super excited about. I'm actually going to have Spanish orals classes that would start in February. Yeah, it's gonna start Valentine's Day actually. It's gonna start Valentine's Day on a Saturday and it's only going to be open to probably 12 students max. It's going to be very limited because we are going to be practicing from that get go. Valentine's Day would be our pre class, and I'll dive deep into our concepts, what we have to focus on in terms of grammar, in terms of vocabulary, and probably start to work on who are going to be peers. Yes, you're going to have to be paired up in that class, but it's going to be a really reduced stress, a reduced stress method of gaining confidence and competence. Because when you're in these exams, these practical exams, you don't only have to display competence. Your confidence as you respond boosts your competence. Your opinion on Soviet Union and Russia. Mm, this would not be my best platform for those topics. So it's not that I don't have an opinion, but it would stray totally from my topic. And I'm really here to give information to the students who are going to prepare for a particular exam in the Caribbean. So that's why I'm not going to talk about that. But Thank you for even mentioning it. Okay. Um. So yeah. So this particular course I'm speaking about. Okay, Joe. It will start on Valentine's Day, as I said. Very, very limited. And if it is you're interested in booking a spot and ensuring that you reserve the seat, you don't even actually have to pay the full cost. You can just pay 150 TT dollars, and that's going to ensure that your seat is booked. And we'll talk about the payment plans. Payments actually would start from January month 10, so that you'd have a nice transition from when we begin in February. Everything would be online via Google Meet. We're going to have group sessions. We're going to have one-on-one sessions. Actually, the last two classes would be strictly one-on-ones orals format, meaning the exact exam format, and not only conversation. This is reading as well. This is the oral situations, and even during the week, we would still be work. We still be work. We would still be doing work because my intention is that you'll be getting three conversation questions each week via WhatsApp. And you'll be like, oh, WhatsApp? How am I going to do Convo via WhatsApp? You voice note me your replies? Of course. I'll be voice noting the question and you send me a voice note back. I did this during 2020 and I helped a lot of students in the Caribbean to gain that confidence and competence in the exam, and they did. They did really good. They did really, really good. So we're going to do reading once a week, and we're going to do convo once a week. And because there's all this extra information, this extra work, that's why this class is going to be very, very small. Um, not more than 12 students. It's not going to be a big class because we have so many things to focus on, and I'll be in a position to give you feedback because you'll need feedback. Every student I've had for orals exam has had a different approach, a different concept, whether it's going to be the vocabulary that's preferred, whether it's going to be how you like to structure your sentences. Maybe you might need more coaching in how to respond to actual oral situations because that has a specific mindset versus the convo, and how to even improve your skills for reading. So I'm super excited to um, talk about that. I am looking forward to students who would be joining that session because I am always excited in terms of um, seeing students really improve and really gain that competence and confidence. And again, this is if I didn't say before, this is coming from someone who doesn't like to talk, knows what it is, doesn't like to speak in when I say don't like to speak, I love to speak in a foreign language, but uh, may feel very perfectionist, may not feel as secure about producing it. So I understand exactly what that feels like. So I want to ensure that you feel better about how you perform. No matter what, no matter what. Just to let you know, as I said, this course would start on Valentine's Day next year. Classes would be on Saturdays from 12 noon. Am I lying? Yeah, this would be from 12 noon to 2 p.m. on a daily basis. And sorry, not on a daily basis, I'm sorry, on a weekly basis for 9 sessions. So you're getting 9 sessions. You're getting the last 2 sessions, you're actually going to do full on one practice during the class sessions with feedback. This would include group practices in the classes. This would include practices for every component for the orals exam. And this would also include if you're interested in getting additional one-on-one time at a special price for those who are booked for this session. So you will learn more information about this. All you need to do is stay subscribed to the channel, Classes and Courses with Coach Chanel, and get more information from me, Coach Chanel, about this or any topic that comes for Spanish or CSEC English A. Of course, if you have any comments or concerns or questions, you can always put a comment down below in this video. Or if you're pretty shy and you don't want to put your comments publicly, then all you need to do is look for me on social media. I'm both on Facebook and IG, and you can send me a direct message. What does Joe say? You look so American and ask the English is hard to learn. Yeah, English is hard to learn. What's your first language, Joe? I see Brazil, so I don't know if you speak Portuguese. I like how Brazilian Portuguese sounds, although I have not learned any Portuguese. English can be a bit challenging Portuguese. Yeah. English can be challenging. I think really it is to practice. I know it's really boring advice, but it really is the best advice. But you can make it to your advantage by practicing in a way that makes sense for you. So the same way that I said that, I actually look at um for my listening for Espanol, because I don't have friends who speak Spanish. I don't have a lot of friends who speak Spanish. For my listening, what I do is I watch anime that's Spanish dub, um, or I look at dorama chino, Chinese dramas in Espanol, and that helps me a lot. I like to write, so I would write in Espanol. Writing is my primary language skill. So if you know what your primary language skill is, that does help because writing is mine. In terms of writing in Espanol, I can write down my to-do list, mis tareas, diarias en Espanol. When I was in school, all of my homework assignments, I would try to write it in Espanol. It does help. I have had students in the past that I have lovingly encouraged to do diary entries in Espanol. And when I say diary entries, they don't have to write anything super personal, but it was a report of the day. Again, that's going to hone into your strength of writing. So you have to know what you're best at, what you gravitate towards when it comes to a language. Are you best at reading, writing, speaking, or listening? Reading and writing were always my top ones. So when I started to do Spanish literature, I was wow. I did a lot. I absorbed. I mean, I knew my book back and front in Espanol. I could sit down and read something in Espanol, especially if it's literature, and that's not going to be a problem for me. Um, but um, so for me, sometimes conversation is what I have to practice on. So maybe you talk to your stuffed animals in the language you want to um, speak. Yes, spasiba. Spasiba. Is that Spanish and Portuguese? Spasiba. My Portuguese is pretty non-existent. I just know it sounds really nice, and I like how Brazilian Portuguese sounds. It has a nice melody to it. All yeah. It has a lovely melody, but it's not a language. I because I already did um, in terms of romance languages, I already have Spanish, and I'm supposed to be learning French. French is kind of crazy for me. The other languages I want to learn are Asian based, so Mandarin and Korean, South Korean, not South Korean for sure. Um, yeah, I want to learn those. Those have its own challenges as well. So hopefully I can master them. I should make that a goal by next year. In fact, I'm supposed to come onto the channel and show you my uh techniques when I try to learn those languages. I talk fast in general, and people from the Caribbean talk fast. I'm in the Caribbean, so we tend to talk fast. And I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. We pretty much talk pretty fast, and then I still talk pretty fast. So I always have to remember to slow down when I'm on YouTube. Hey, that's okay, Joe. It's because I speak really fast. All right. But learners, thank you so much for stopping by. If you did not make it to the live, um, that's let me see what Caribbean is part of America. The Caribbean, well, let's do some history. We're going into some history. So the Caribbean is it's close to South and Central America, and it often gets lumped in as part of America, but our culture is pretty different. Our culture, our history, um, very, very different. So we would be pretty different from North America. Probably a lot more cultural similarities to parts of South Central America, but not so much North. We consume a lot of North American media, like a lot of countries right now. So I would say we're very aware of what's going on in North America. And then technology and social media tends to be, yeah. Oh, I understand. I understand. Yeah, we get lumped in with America a lot because we're so small. We're so small as a region. It's a pretty small region. However, we've got some interesting culture. So you should come. You should visit the Caribbean. You should visit the Caribbean, and hopefully one day I'll visit Brazil. I think that's on my list of places to visit. Because especially Carnival in Trinidad is pretty big, and I know Carnival in Brazil is super big. So it'll be nice to see what the difference is like. All right. Joe, I hope you get even better with your with your English practice. I think you're doing a pretty good job right now, right? And for all the learners who made it and who had any questions, you guys can always message me anytime for any questions. Guys, have a great day. And as always, I'm leaving you with my words, which are I am succeeding, I am successful, I know myself, I love myself. Take care. Bye. And I have to take this off to do that.